So I'm starting my second semester of law school today, which is kind of crazy. There's still so much for me to learn about law school and the law and legal careers, but I definitely feel like I know more now than I did 4 months ago, one would hope. And what I'd like to do today is address some of those questions that I wish I had been asking as a pre-law student. So we've done a few sets of Q&As on this channel. One was just last week on the LSAT. But something that always surprises me is the questions that nobody asks. And I get it, I was a pre-law student who didn't know what I didn't know to ask about what I didn't know yet. Thankfully, I encountered some great people who pre-answered those questions without me asking, including the WashU admissions team, who thankfully did not take advantage of my inexperience or ignorance when giving me my admissions package. This is obviously not going to be an exhaustive list, but I would love to do today is to equip you with some of the questions to be asking law schools and law students before you apply, accept, and enter a law school. Before and during the applications process, there is a big list of questions that I've come up with for pre-law students who are considering a particular school. These include some general good-to-knows about law school and yourself, as well as some specific stuff about the law schools and their student bodies that I think it would be good to know in deciding whether or not you even want to spend the time on the application. Of course, there's no limit to the number of schools that you can apply to, but I think that these questions weed down the choice so that it's not so overwhelming when you actually have to make a selection later. I spent a good while coming up with this list a few days ago, and I do not have it memorized, so you're going to have to excuse me reading down the questions and giving brief answers or explanations to them as we go, okay? The first question in this category that I suggest asking is there anything I should learn before attending law school? And my answer to that would be, learn if there's a particular area of law that interests you. Learn about communication. I'm biased because that was my major, but definitely take some public speaking classes. They're more skills than particular sets of knowledge, but I think they're worth investing some time and looking into. Next, how do I know if law school is right for me? This is a question that you need to ask and have a solid answer for yourself before you even apply. Please don't be one of those people who spends all this money and time going to law school and drops out in the first year because they realize they hate law. Law school is not right for you if you are just going to get a high-paying job. It's also not right for you if you don't have good work ethic or a solid concept of what justice or law means to you. As for specific questions about the school that you should be asking before or while applying to that particular institution, I have a list here for you, and I also have a huge set of videos that addresses many of these questions in greater detail. If I already have a video that addresses one of these questions, you'll see it in a card right over here while I talk about it. And if you don't see a card, let me know in the comments below if that particular question is something that you would like me to answer in a future video. While you're down there in the comments, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to this channel for more law school content. Hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified every time a new video drops, which is typically every Monday. And give this video a like if you would like to see more videos addressing specific questions and answers about law school. What does a 1L schedule look like? Very, very busy. But it does differ from school to school in some senses. Times of classes might be different. The quality of professors might be different. The textbooks and even the classes that you take could change from school to school. No matter where you go, the ABA or the American Bar Association, the governing body for all things law school, lawyers, etc., requires an average of at least 2 hours of outside work per every 1 hour inside the classroom. So no matter where you go, you're gonna have lots of work to do, but what that work is might be something worth looking into. What opportunities does this school encourage all students to pursue? This question will give you some insight into what values the school holds, which jobs they're pushing students to apply to. At WashU, so far, 1Ls have been encouraged to look into future clerkships and to that end, participate in a journal during their time in the school. That's something that I'll talk about in a future video for sure, but ask every school because this answer probably will differ, especially based on geography or reputation of the school. How many students go on to practice in my interest area and location after graduation? The more prestigious the school, the more likely you can go wherever you want. But these are stats that every school has and will readily and happily give to you. What are the downsides of attending this school? Maybe don't ask this one to the admissions team, but it would be a great question to ask any student ambassadors who reach out to you through email or phone call. Everybody has stuff that they don't like about law school. I have a long list. It might be a red flag though if a student tells you that a school has a very competitive environment, or if it's curved on a very low GPA, like a 3.0 or something like that. We'll get to grades later though. What is the school's commitment to me finding summer and post-grad jobs? At WashU, this was one of the most striking features, was they immediately introduced me to the Career Center before I had even applied to the school. It might not be in your best interest to go to a school that emphasizes post-grad employment over some other opportunities that you're looking for pre-graduation, but for me, I found that very desirable, and so it's a question worth asking. What opportunities does this school offer for the areas of law I'm interested in? Now, obviously, if you are one of the many students who goes into law school not having a specific job that they're just dying to get, that's totally okay. But if you are like me and you came into school knowing very precisely what you wanted to do after, it's definitely worth asking if that school has particular opportunities, focuses, mentoring for that area of law. Especially when you're applying to highly ranked schools, I guarantee they have a ton of networking and connections for firm jobs. But if you're like me and want something that's more government focused or public interest focused, those are really good questions to ask. Push for details and examples of students that have gone on to those jobs while in school and after school, thanks to the school's connections and opportunities. Final question for this stage of application: what does the student body look like? Again, this is just a simple statistic you could probably just find on their website, but an admissions team or a student could also let you know. Does everybody look like you? Is it diverse, not just in color of skin, but geography and cultural background and belief systems and political spectrum? What does the student body care about? And is what you care about going to be a majority, minority, accepted, pushed back against? This is a very important question to ask nowadays, not only for your benefit, but to help keep law schools and the legal profession in general accountable for including everybody and not just white men. Next up is a shorter list of questions that you should be asking before you accept an offer from a law school. This is when all of your applications are done and you are ready to choose where you're going to spend the next 3 years of your life. These questions focus on the quality of your life during law school, because by this time you already know how good the law school is, what it looks like, what it cares about. What I personally think should be the deciding factor between all these schools that you've already selected as being ones that you'd be willing to attend is the things that are going to make you want to attend them and be thankful that you did. First up, what are realistic expectations for activities outside of school? Like I mentioned before, the ABA requires a very similar minimum workload across the board, but as is the case for undergrad schools with similar workload regulations, we all know that some schools are just harder and require more work than others. This is probably one of those questions that you should ask to a law student versus the admissions team, but you certainly could ask both and see how closely those answers match up. During our orientation, we had this infamous seminar hosted by an outside contractor dealing with law school preparation and success, who told us that basically you couldn't have any relationships or hobbies or cook food or sleep or work out or go to study group. You only could do law school
by yourself all the time.
And our administration quickly and blatantly contradicted that. They said, no, please don't do that. You're going to die, and if you don't hate your life, please have activities and hobbies outside of law school. Yes, we want you to work hard. Yes, law school is hard, and yes, Washington University is a rigorous academic environment that is going to push its students to succeed at the very top level, but that doesn't mean that law school has to be your entire life, no matter what any gunner law student tells you. Next, what are typical living costs in this area? This is a question, again, you can ask the admissions team or students, but you can also just go on Google. There are plenty of websites that can do cost of living analyses, comparing where you live now to where you're considering moving. Think about stuff beyond apartment rent. Transportation, are you going to need a car? Is it a dangerous area where you're going to need to pay a premium for security? What room is there for negotiating scholarships and other types of offers? I cannot stress enough how important this question is. You're not going to offend anybody by asking this question. You're not going to lose an offer of admission, and whatever your offer was is not going to go down as a result of you asking. Literally, the worst that can happen is say, there is no room for negotiation, this is your offer. And that happened to me at a lot of schools that I did not expect that to be the answer, and cost them my attendance. Looking at you, Notre Dame. If there is room for negotiation, don't be afraid to ask for more or be able to prove that you're worth it. Something that helps with proving that you're worth it is getting other offers from schools that are more than the school that you'd like to go to. Even if they're lower ranked schools, you attending that lower ranked school instead of the higher ranked school that wants you is incentive for the higher ranked school to give you more money. And I said other types of offers because money, while very helpful, is not the only way that a school can incentivize you to come. Promise of a future research assistant position or the ability to study abroad were both additional factors that were offered to me as part of scholarship negotiations. And another one I forgot to mention before I move on is mentoring. You can ask if they will set you up with different alumni or practitioners, or students in the area to mentor you if you just go into law school totally clueless. That was me. I asked for that, and I'm so grateful that I did. How is the school involved in the surrounding community? I don't really have anything else to say about that one. It's just a good question to ask. Some schools are very passionate about it and would be over the moon that you even thought to ask. Why did students choose this school? When I came to WashU, I found that a lot of my peers had the same answer to this question as I did. We came to WashU because this school actually acted like they wanted us. Not only did they throw money at us, but they contacted us more. They answered our questions better. They actually tried to make us feel heard and pursued. I would definitely ask as many people as possible at any school to which you are seriously applying, why did you come here? And maybe, are you glad that you came here? Final question in this category, how do students feel about the administration? You might think that the administration has little bearing on your law school experience as much as your peers and faculty and maybe even staff do. But I can assure you that the way that administration approaches or does not approach student concerns is a huge factor on your experience in law school. I've only been here for 4 months, but WashU administration has already been so involved, from having students over to their houses to literally running trials for student issues to creating student bodies to address those issues and having coffee chats with the dean. I think it is very important that students trust administration, and if they don't, the administration recognizes that and makes honest attempts to fix it. For the final category, which is before entering law school, I only have 4 questions because by this point, you know about the school, you know about the life you're getting yourself into. Hopefully you know that this is a good decision and you're glad you made it. But there are maybe a couple things that you can do to set yourself up for success, or maybe that other people think that you should do to set yourself up for success. How should I be thinking about grades differently? How does the school approach grading? This is a little different from school to school, but generally speaking, there's going to be a curve, and schools will either say grades really, really, really matter. Grades matter sometimes, grades matter but don't freak out about them, or grades don't matter. And those 4 approaches have a very big impact on your law school experience. I don't think that they are a reason to go or not go to a school, although you might want to ask this question earlier in the process. But I definitely think it's a question that you should be asking and have a solid answer to before you start the craziness of the semester and freaking out about how your whole grade is probably determined by one exam at the end of the class. What habits should I form upon entering law school? In general, things that I talked about before, like time management, are helpful. It might have gotten a little lost this late into the video, but my goal here isn't to give a comprehensive answer to these questions. Again, if you want one from me, let me know in the comments below. I'm trying to give you a very short summary of what some schools and students might tell you, but I'm doing this video so that you know the questions that you still should be asking them and not just hearing from me. Almost done, 2 more. First, what do I need to do to prepare for law school? This is pretty similar to the last one, but I bet if you asked both, you'd get different responses from the same people. And finally, what should I buy for law school? I'm obviously talking beyond textbooks. Maybe you work better with a reading lamp or with a book stand or with certain kinds of pens or notebooks. Ask people at those schools what they use and what they find effective. There's a couple videos online suggesting different things. I would advise you to get advice from actual law students and people at that school and not from law school preparation guides or coaches or anything like that, because they're just trying to sell you their own stuff. And while that stuff might be helpful, you should get the advice to buy it from someone other than their marketing team. Okay. So very much not a comprehensive list of every question you should be asking, but hopefully a very good starting point for when you get that inevitable email or phone call from the admissions team or a student enlisted by them saying, "What questions can I answer for you about so-and-so university? I would love nothing more than to help you along this journey as you choose what law school is right for you, although I'm sure it will be my institution." It's so good to be back with you guys now that winter break is over, and I'm very excited about the lineup of some of these videos that I have coming for you in 2020 and the second semester. We are approaching our first whole year of life as a law student, which is very exciting. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next Monday with another video. Until then, God bless.